What is up, everyone, mutants and humans alike? My name is Kyle. I'm with Danny. Once again, we are talking about Dawn of X Phase 2, specifically Wolverine issue number 1, part 2, folks. This is a long one. We had to break this up. We had to break
Definitely a long one.
Yeah. 62 pages, I believe.
Yeah,
And
so that was definitely up there.
Once again, we got Benjamin Percy writing, but a new artist. We got Victor Bogdanovich. Vonovic. I could speak right now. Victor Bogdanovic. I did it.
Sounds accurate enough for someone who doesn't speak that native language. You did your best, Kyle.
Indeed. But yeah, part one, we got to see some X Force in action, right? We got to see Wolverine sneak his way through some cult members, Order of X, after taking the sacred plant. In
I
this
wonder why
issue,
they
oh, go ahead.
changed artists for the
Oh,
second part. Like
right.
that just struck me. I was like, wait, why did they change artists? Like maybe
Two
just to mix it
people
up or give someone more, like a little bit more.
time. You know how long it would take one person to do things if you get two people to do it.
Oh
If
yeah,
they
you
do it in
can
half the
break it
time.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense because the artwork is pretty evolved, so it would make sense that they have to spend a lot of time, and to get
Yeah.
it out in the time frame for one issue, you need twice the manpower. Yeah,
Exactly.
I get what you mean.
Exactly. But this is interesting. We take a different turn in this one. The art is still good. I think it's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it didn't deviate too much from the style of the previous one. It still was unique enough where I could tell it was different, but it didn't interfere with the story in such a way.
yeah. Um, yeah, and we're gonna see some vampires later on, folks. But for now, you ready to dive into this?
Yes. This weird sound of music, like intro, where like I picture Wolverine like singing "The hills are alive with the sound of music." He like leaps off the edge like that,
He
just so
does,
alive
just
and
like
like full of joy.
full of joy, but he's looking off into the sun, just like he almost looks naked in that first panel. But
Yeah, you can't see the belt or anything. Yeah,
nothing. And then he jumps off, and he's just kind of he's uh, he's like it's safe. He's too safe. He feels too safe. He doesn't like it, more or less. Um, and he refers to essentially being on guard because of a certain person who died, referring to the death of Xavier in issue 1 of X
yeah, of
Force.
X Force. Yeah,
Yes, and it's he's pretty much like just he doesn't have trust. And he refers to this place, Krakoa, as one big danger room because he doesn't trust the ground under his feet. He literally said that.
yeah. Also, like remember when I think it was Dawn of X1 when Beast was attacked by that random Krakoan like creature. Like
Yes.
that like it seemed like that quadrupedal like almost like kind of like a wolf lizard thing. It was hard to explain though.
Yeah.
Everything on this island is like I was saying back then is kind of chimera-ish.
Yeah, it's
So
definitely coming out.
yeah, but he had the same sentiment where he said like, once you start getting comfortable, you start getting soft, and that breeds an adversary, that breeds a predator, that creates a hunter and a hunted, because this place is evolving. It will evolve off of that kind of landscape as well.
Mm-hmm.
And him saying that he doesn't trust this place is kind of coming from something like that. And he's noting it where he like even where he steps, where he
Yeah,
moves, interacts with, the island reacts to it. So the island itself is reacting to them not only physically but emotionally.
yeah,
So he's definitely on alert.
yeah, exactly. And even mentions like being wary of mutants because he's just like some enemies are now allies. Enemies are sudden allies, pretty much. and he's on tilt. He's a little on tilt. This epic panel of just apocalypse in the background, kind of looming right there. It's kind of in
Yeah.
front. That's
It almost looks like he like totally is aware of like he's like, why is Wolverine hiding in the background staring at me? Like
right.
it's almost as if he's just like, okay, you trying to sneak up on me, dude? Yeah, he's also alluding at that point where he's like, once you were trying someone you were once trying to kill, you're avoiding to get killed by is now your neighbor. Like that someone who was totally different, like an enemy, is now just living next to your doorstep. And then you got Apocalypse right there, and just Wolverine, which is like pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's definitely probably yeah, I would say it's easily the favorite my favorite illustration for the whole thing. Just because like he's dead center and takes the whole. It doesn't even matter what's going on everywhere else. It's just like Apocalypse
Right. And it's
takes
classic
focus.
apocalypse. It's
Yeah,
it's not it's
seems good.
not I'm a apocalypse, hipster apocalypse.
But look! They animate Wolverine a certain size. Jean, Magneto, those kids, they're all the same size. But here's
Yeah.
Apocalypse, just like right up in your
Just
face.
looming. Just bam. Just
He's too
right
big for
there.
this panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but he's not sure about anything in what's going on. And as that happens, we see who do we see, Danny? Pop through a portal.
Omega Red.
Wow, when's the
Probably the
last yeah.
and you'd probably agree probably the big number two Wolverine foil being
Yeah,
second behind Sabretooth.
yes, absolutely. So that's interesting. So that just makes him even more on edge, and he's just right there ready to pop his claws. And he even says, "You got 3 seconds to vanish yourself back through the gate." And
You
then
turn
he's just
around,
like,
bow face, buddy.
right? He's like, "You need to get out of here." And he's just like, "I thought we're brothers now."
Oh, dude, they do that vertical Wolverine schnick. That's like super classic. Like that is like Jim Lee Wolverine right there, where it's completely vertical with his face instead of like aiming at them.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
oh, I love that. It's a good like outline, or it goes parallel with him.
it does.
Yeah.
Very a lot of symmetry. And he counts down. He counts down more or less 2, 3. And as he's saying this, he's just all like, "I thought we're Omega Red's like, I thought we were gonna work together, or isn't there room for a dream, for a nightmare like me?"
Yeah, just
Very
like melting off the rhetoric, and like really loosely, like
right.
sarcastically, just saying like, "What happened? I thought we were all supposed to be friends here." Xavier said all mutants are welcome. I mean, come on, love thy brother. What's going on? While still coming at him with his like iron like tentacles.
And Wolverine kind of jumps at him, and as he jumps at him, Magneto just stops him in his tracks, and he's just all like, "Excuse me, sorry from Omega Red. Of course you're welcome here." As Magneto just almost nonchalantly uh
Just
takes
freezes him in the air.
yeah, just takes him, puts him in the air,
It's
prevents
like
him
in the
from
X-Men
attacking.
movies when he just catches him and he leaps in
More or
him and just
less,
whoop,
yeah.
he's like frozen.
Yeah. And he's just like, "Yo, man, I gotta protect this place. Let me go slash. Let me go sniggity snoring up in this bitch."
I'm your guard dog. Let me do it.
Yeah. And this is when he has this cool line where he's so like, "Come on and do this," and then he's just so like, "You wish to do a job, then tell me what kind of mess is waiting for us," and he just throws him through the portal.
Yeah,
Just throws him
he's just
straight
go see
through.
what happened on the other side. I'll deal with this, the diplomatic relations part, Wolverine. Like, you go take care of the fighting. Peace. Which is the toss, a flick of his hand, and he's out the
Yeah,
portal.
it's gone. And that's great. I love seeing Magneto just kind of like, "I'm gonna do this. It takes no effort and deal with it." So he goes to the portal, and he is jumps out into Paris, and we are in Paris, and he's kind of like looking around, looking around. He smells some blood. What's the plip plip? Oh, it's like blood
There's the
dropping.
blood dripping. He thought at first it was like oil, like, but then he's like, no, that shit's blood.
It's
You can
blood.
smell it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's like a bit of a. It looks like there was a bit of a scuffle, and like this car is like fucked up, and it's like blood is just dripping out of it.
yeah. And then he opens up this trunk or trash can. Is it a trash
No, it's a
can?
trunk. It's a trunk of the car.
Trunk of a car. Okay.
Trunk
And
or the. It looks like it either maybe the front of the car, like the hood,
oh
might be
yeah,
the trunk. It looks like I think it's the trunk. I think it's the trunk because there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff in there, and where would the engine be if there's that much?
Good
Like
point.
there's literally three, four, five, six dead bodies like mangled up on each other. Like it's hard to tell. Like there's limbs and skulls everywhere. It's a gruesome scene. It's definitely a gruesome scene.
Yeah. So we got some body parts everywhere, and he's just like, "What? What's going on?" And he kind of reaches down. And as he reaches down, someone reaches in, or someone
Pops
from
up,
inside just pops up out of
grabs his hand, and
nowhere,
yeah, it pops right out.
and he's just like, "You're like him. You're like him." He's like, "I'm nothing like him." And and then he said he died in his arms, right?
Yeah, it just like dies right there. As what I
Just
interpret as a silhouette of like police showing up in the
thought that
back.
was. Oh yeah, that's what I assumed. So
Yeah,
like he's just like, all right, I found and dead bodies. I found a dead body, and I'm next to chopped up body parts, and I'm in Falcon Paris.
yeah. Cops will understand this. It was like this when it got here. I don't want to tell you, boys. Diplomatic community, peace out.
Yeah, bon nuit, bon nuit.
A bonne nuit to us all. I love to hear Wolverine doing his best uh, French accent. Well, maybe he's
uh,
from Canada. Maybe he could be from French, or, Quebec, like northern Quebec.
Quebec
A little bit of French Canadian.
seems too gruffly voice.
A bub. Don't know how to do it. You can't even say that word in a French accent.
No, no. It's like Brad Pitt and what's it called?
Oh, Glorious Bastards, where
Inglorious
he's like,
Bastards, where he's just
yeah,
like,
Italian.
buongiorno.
He's
Yeah,
Italian. Yeah.
yeah.
Buongiorno.
That's Wolverine right there when he tries to speak a different language.
Exactly.
Um, and then we go to the prison grotto, and we have Dr. Reyes, we got Magneto, and um, they're talking about this person had a carbonadium armor, muscle fibers, very resilient, um, super powerful, right?
Yeah, they break it down like the ins and outs of Omega Red.
Omega
And he's
Red,
yeah,
yeah,
he's definitely a product of like the early '90s with like Jim Lee and them like trying to make like really really radicalized villains that are just like super over the top. Omega Red is easily one of the most over top Wolverine villains. I mean, the dude's like a radiator.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
crazy. He's got some issues. But
yeah,
yeah, definitely interesting for them to deal with. But Magneto should be pretty apt at taking him apart in any way, shape, or form if he got out of line. Like, I mean, the dude's partially metal anyway, so Magneto would just be like, and you're done. So it's not like he's a big threat right here, right now.
no. There's nothing like physically that he could do,
Yeah.
essentially.
And then Dr. Ray is getting used again because she's like the only surgeon really on the island.
Yeah.
And they want to get that new mutant screen time in so they can this is like publicity for the movie, man. They're doing it right here.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
Disney wants to put butts in the seats for that movie.
They sure, I guess they still can't believe
Why
it's
not?
happening.
I mean, they fired all the marketing staff for Dark Phoenix when they got the rights. Like literally day one, they were like, "You're all fired.
Good.
We will not market this movie at all. No one needs to know about this movie." Which good call, good call.
Uh, but what's going on is Wolverine's just mad. He's just super frustrated. He's super pissed. He's just all like, "Yo, man, we're like your CIA. We're pretty much your CIA. Let us be your CIA. X Force is your CIA. Why can't we CIA?"
Let me
And
kill this
Magneto,
dude.
yeah, Magneto's just like, "Stop saying CIA." And
They never let me join because I was Canadian. All right, I
but
always wanted to be a part of it.
yeah, but then he kind of he makes parallels to like Nazis, and like he's essentially saying like the CIA also can pretty much start coups and overthrow the government, and they have the power to influence as well. And a balance, essentially, he's saying a balance is needed, right? More or less, kind of.
Yeah, and he's also putting on blast like a lot of American double standards and things like that. Like he was alluding with the actual like scientists being used and stuff like that on how like war atrocities can be overlooked if you have the right skills and things. Like he's doing a lot of cool. Like Magneto's doing a lot of cool. I guess you could say leader uh demagoguing, like in the sense where he's like, yeah, we may be benevolent leaders and mutants with our own abilities and powers and godlike, but at least we understand how the world really is and how things really work. And he's trying to put that like the level for Wolverine to understand and say that there are greater things going on here in both their system of politics versus like the American system of politics.
Yeah, can we talk about the subterfuge happening up in the
Oh,
village?
dude, he's just like it's like he's shifting it. Do you notice that it goes from like his eyes to like
Yeah,
or from his mouth to his eyes? Like first
yeah.
you get full subterfuge, only helmet. So 100% subterfuge, no Magneto face. Then his eyes start to pull. It pulls back a little bit, and his eyes come out, and then
Mhm.
instantly it shoots up to his eyes, and all you can see is his nose down with just his like his pupil and an iris is popping out.
Yeah.
It's like the dude is
Good.
wielding it in real time for Wolverine. Like I can picture Wolverine be like, dude, I've been the same 5 feet away from you since the beginning of our conversation. Like, why is that shadow on your face moving around so vividly? You just picture it like alive and like just organically just like flowing around his face.
Mhm.
At one point he has to like swat like its hair. He like has to move it out of his face. He's like, kid.
uh, yeah.
Oh man, because in the final panel you get that like it's creeping out of like one of his eyes, like he's like leaning in and looking at him, and you can
Yeah.
see like one of his eyes is like almost fully exposed, but the other one is just hidden still.
Hidden a little. Yeah. Um, and then we get these panels are silly. This so much subterfuge. Um, but
It infects Wolverine at one point,
it
and now you
does.
can see his eyes or mouth or anything. They're talking about dark stuff. Don't you understand? We need to illustrate it.
But
uh,
he's like your job as X Force is to neutralize the problem. So is he saying that like X Force is the Avengers? They're avenging, you could say. One would say
yeah,
they're
sure.
gonna.
I mean, if didn't want to get sued. Tony Stark's like, we own the rights to that.
Yeah, how dare you?
I mean, with my greatest asset, my lawyer.
Money, best money
uh,
you could buy, unlike that space lawyer.
yeah. Oh God, that dude. His crazy eyes.
He was indeed the worst
Penalty
lawyer.
dropped. Uh, But man, look how nice it is at the end of the panel, though. That contrast of his like red eye, like popping out of like the almost like the blue darkness.
Yeah.
Did like that with the
Mega
reflection of
Bob,
Wolverine in
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the blues that he's just like, what is he in? He's in like a cave pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
they're a little
This is
like holding cell that's like makeshift of like branches. It's either something that Krakoa does on its own or BTC is probably making it happen.
BTC. Yeah, he even mentions it's BTC too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the next, like, if you when he's
Well, that's yeah. He
yeah,
mentioned about it. Yeah, he's testing it. Yeah, in the very next clip. Yeah.
yeah, he's the one you me that Black Tom programmed this cell defensively.
He's
So it's
testing
just
it.
like, yeah, anytime he lashes out, it just like it's like a seatbelt. It's like, no, no, no,
Yep.
go
Pulls
back.
you right back like that rocking clown that bounces back and forth when you punch it.
Yes,
You're not going anywhere.
exactly. But Wolverine's tasked with getting information.
Yeah, find out what happened, why Omega Red is here, and what happened to him, what happened to those people in the car, and all that jazz. And Wolverine's just kind of getting a lot of shit off his chest right away, where he's just like,
Yeah.
"I don't want you here. I want you dead. They won't let me kill you, but you know, if I get the chance, you better be ready, buddy, because I'm fucking gonna kill
Yep.
you.
He's gonna do
I
it.
can promise you that." And he's just smirking, like Omega Red knows that he's like fucking totally on a leash, and he's just like totally dicking Wolverine's face right now, just like grinning right up in him and saying, like, "You can't do shit about this. I've got diplomatic immunity too. I'm a mutant. These stupid laws apply to me too, bucko." Yeah. Then Wolverine centrifuges out and says, "Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go find out on my own. I'm gonna go in
Yeah.
places where these laws don't apply."
Yeah. That's subterfuge everywhere in this issue.
You couldn't even
Uh,
turn around, right? Like you didn't
yeah.
even know in that last panel. You weren't even sure, like, is he facing away from him or towards him? No, no. Just really, it's hard. I mean, you can kind of tell if you look at his arm, but for the most part, still, it was like at first I was like, is he walking backwards? Like, what's going on? Yeah, good times.
And then Omega Red says you should go check out. Now, can you pronounce this? King's we Weeblet?
Ooblet? I think
Ooblet?
it's with like a oob, like
Okay.
oob, Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Ooblet. King Ooblet. So he gives him a taste of info as he subterfuges out of there.
Yeah. I'll give you one name. That's all I need. Good enough. I'll figure it out on Logan.
Yeah. And he says that it refers to the place where people are forgotten. And they go to Latin quarters in Paris. And he's mentioning that what's going on? He's just trying to get into this club, right?
Yeah, and
More
he's
or
bringing
less.
up like kind of a little bit of history on it, where he said like the king of France, once he hated him the most, he kind of banished him to these parts of the country, and this is kind of like their. This is like the yeah. It's essentially he's trying to lead in like it's like never before will you find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah.
Most Isley spaceport. This is like the most Isley of France. Yeah.
And a French person kind of comes up to him with flowers and talks to him in French.
Yeah.
And
Before he spots a
Logan,
place though that kind of reminds him of like a place where Kid Omega would hang out.
yeah,
It's like kind of like that super like fashionista hipster kind of place with really gaudy music.
yeah. And as it happens, he says, like, fuck off.
He says it in
And
French, which we don't understand right away, but she explains.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
swear in our language. It sounds ugly with your accent.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, he's just like, sorry, I mean, excuse moi, and she's like, please don't do that, don't, no, that's a huge no. And they're all silhouetted too as this is happening, and they kind of get talk. They go into the club, and they kind of banter a little bit. When they enter the club, um, he mentions that the air's thick with cologne and perfume, as if the club's trying to cover up something else. Wow, wow, Logan, wow,
It's like there's something they're hiding.
right? Um,
With these
he's
super pale people with really weird bloodshot eyes.
right.
It's off.
One of them's wearing a mask.
Yeah, one was
See
wearing a
that?
mask. And he picked up on this lady quick. Did you notice that? He's like, you know what? I'd rather just go inside and buy you a drink. My name's Logan. And she just rolled with it.
Yeah. They just kind of hung out. She's like, "What's up? How's it going? What are
I
you up
like
to? Let's
I
do
like
this."
Wolverine's go for it attitude, man.
Yeah,
Him.
he's always down. And they're getting absinthe, right?
Yeah. Oh god,
Yeah,
so
getting down on
gross.
absinthe.
Ugh.
Not a fan.
No way, dude. It's like black licorice, man.
It
I
is
didn't
like
like it in food
licorice.
form. Why would I like it in liquid form?
Fair enough. Fair
It's
enough.
just a different texture. The
Yeah.
flavor's identical. uh, we never even get real absinthe out here. Like, don't they remove the wormwood anyways? Like, there's
No,
nothing.
not anymore. Not
Not even.
anymore.
Oh
No.
wow, so you get the trippy absinthe. Oh man.
Yeah, it doesn't really trip you though. I don't think so. It's just strong alcohol,
I thought if you drank enough of it, it kind of like the wormwood extract kind of hits you in a psychedelic way.
I
But
guess.
yeah. Or you just get super wasted. Maybe that's it. You just take a trip in. You're like, whoa, man, I'm tripping balls.
It
Fall
does
over.
does fuck you hard
You
for
passed out,
sure.
man. You've been asleep for like 4 hours. You probably dreamt all that shit. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. But the absinthe is just a side note. That's nothing. Like what we find out after Wolverine drinks this absinthe and then
Yes.
passes out from being poisoned is the real drink of choice is Logan himself. Oh man.
uh, yeah. He mentions that he wish he had bourbon, and then he notices the music stopped, and that's when everyone started staring at me. And he kind of what does he do? He just smashes that glass.
No, he passes out from drinking it. It's poisoned him. Like
Right. He passes out. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because he says that he knows what's going on, what the perfume is used to cover up in the cologne. It's death, and he passes out. So either he's implying that what he just drank was meant to kill him, and that's why he's passing out, or he literally is just like, I'm smelling death in this place. I think with the perfume comment, that's what he means is he smells death, and this just happened to knock him out to be potent enough. It's hard to tell with Wolverine if they just wanted to knock him out or if they literally meant to kill him.
Right.
But now he's
Um.
hogtied, strung up, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
putting him on tap. Like they literally
Straight
pop him
up.
like a keg.
No,
Oh
straight
man.
up. He grabs a tab and they just stab him straight in the neck, and they literally tap him for blood. Dude,
Yeah.
what vein are you hitting at the neck, though?
I don't know, some probably like along the trachea or something. I don't know. That's a tough call. But I mean, well, who knows? Maybe just the wound itself. It's just pulling out blood. Like that's what it is. And Wolverine generates blood so quickly, even just a small flesh wound probably would like fill a glass in like a matter of seconds. Because that's like constantly healing and then reopening.
Constantly flowing, right?
And I like it because that dude, the one vampire, is just like so nonchalant, just like pouring his glass while hanging out with this girl. Like, just like got his arm around her, and they're
Like,
just
I
like,
got
yeah,
this,
it's
babe.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
I love that look with his eye where he's like, you motherfuckers. Trying to drink me? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
you see in his eyes, and he snicks. And while he goes on a rampage, while he's doing this, he's kind of throughout this whole like part two, he's just kind of has this inner turmoil, and we keep seeing this over and over again. Kind of, he's just like locked up inside as an animal. Sometimes it escapes. Super broody, man. Super broody. Um,
He's taken that subterfuge and now put it inside his mentality.
yeah,
I
this
only
is.
see darkness inward. uh,
But then this is when he notes like maybe Magneto was right. Maybe I'm not seeing straight, which is interesting to see the Logan kind of like
giving into
uh
the inner animal inside, almost acknowledging that he's like, well, maybe I should just let the rage blind me and be the beast that I think I am or they think I am, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And he kind of just goes off the hinges right here and like fucks up a bunch of them, even while being strung from the ceiling. He's just like
True.
a pinata that murders. uh,
Yeah. And while this happens, the I forgot it. Did we get a name from her? I forget her
I
name.
don't think we got a name from her. I'm referred to her as Flower Girl. I don't think she gave a proper name. Uh,
I'll call her
yeah,
Flower Girl. So
yeah,
Flower Girl whips out a nice like energy gun, ray blaster, and just freaking flashes these people, like and vaporizes them.
it looks like it's a oh gosh,
It's
Blade
a
used to use them.
UV
UV light,
like
yeah, it's a UV
like
light gun, like a concentrated UV
yeah,
light gun.
it just incinerates them. Yeah,
Oh, instantly they're
uh,
dusted. Yeah, it's real dope
yeah.
too. Because she has the high ground. They're like running, they're trying to run because the Death Pinata Wolverine is behind them, and they're like, "Make for the stairs!" And then all of a sudden, he's just like, "Stairs are closed, motherfucker." Oh, such a Blade moment right here. I
Yeah.
really liked it.
And he's just like, "Who are you?" She's just like, "No, don't worry about it. I sell flowers."
She's
Um,
still just spinning around from the ceiling, killing people best he can.
yeah.
She
Um,
staked one pretty well too, right as she's coming up.
oh yeah. And she tells Logan kind of who she is. No, he doesn't right here.
No, not yet.
He
She's
just
still
leaves
being
her.
vague,
He leaves
coy.
her hanging.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm here for the vampires. Like, I'm not here for you. And you'd see her pull back her robe, revealing that really dope, like kind of vampire hunter gear slash like getup she has with like that cross sword on her chest.
Yeah, it's an interesting getup. I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it. It works for killing the vampires.
Looks like she's clearly a part of some sort of order of vampire hunters. Because there's no way she's like a that's her like crime fighting costume. Like that totally reeks of like, oh, I'm a part of a secret order. Like it reminds me of the Knights Templar. Like that's totally
A
Knights
little
Templar.
bit, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like a vampire hunter group of Knights Templar. I bet. I don't know yet, but I'm pretty confident that that's what it's going to turn out to be.
But yeah, Logan's just like, "You can tell me your name," and she bounces, and he's just like, "Yeah," or "Leave me hanging." And as we cut to Krakoa, and Logan's just like, "You sent me down a weird path, you son of a bitch.
You set
What'd
me
you
up, you
do?"
son of a bitch. Like you sent me a place where they're going to kill me. And he's still being so coy. He was like, I was just trying to show you the truth, man. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. You found they tried to murder you. I didn't. I just want to show you the people that wanted to murder us.
And we get a cut to the morgue for a panel.
Yeah, the like the coroner is like, or the mortician is like going through and he's like checking out the vampires.
Yeah, and we kind of cut between Omega Red and this corner
Does that dude look like Wilford Brimley to you?
a little bit. He just wears the
Corner, like that first shot where you
diabetes.
can't see his eyes and it's like sunglasses, almost like they're reflective. And he totally looks like Wilford Brimley. I'm gonna check this body for diabetes.
I have diabetes.
That's what killed you, man. You gotta cut back on the sugar. But it's cool how they go seamless. Like they cut from Omega Red to then the corner, like
Yeah,
examining the body, back to Omega Red again.
yeah. But essentially, he's just talking about, "Hey, yo, these are vampires, bitch. These are vampires." Um, I don't know what he's talking about the transition though. When the transition is complete, when he's just like, "There were prisoners, bitten, infected, trapped deep
Transitioning
in the
into
catacomb."
vampires, the
Oh,
prisoners.
transitioning into okay,
Yeah, yeah, they're infected and they're
gotcha.
succumbing to the bloodlust.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
And as this is happening,
Wolverine's still talking about how he doesn't trust Omega Red.
yeah,
He started telling, well, maybe I've changed as
I've
well.
changed. Yeah,
And at first I thought, oh man, is Omega Red a vampire? Because I'm like, that could be a double entendre. I don't know.
interesting.
But yeah, that was the first vibe I got here. Because I mean, he's got the red eyes. You see, red
Yeah,
eye,
red eye.
next to each other
Uh,
in the same.
yeah, and they emphasized the red eyes earlier too, so that's very, very possible. Um, but as that happens, it cuts back to the corner, and the eyes open on the vampire zombie thing. Uh,
Vampire. They're their own
vampire.
classification on dead.
Yeah. Um, and Wilford Brimley's just like, "Oh shit," and
Yeah.
and more or less, while this is happening, Omega Red's just or Wolverine's just so like, um, I think he's still just saying, "Don't do it," right? More or less.
Well, he's also pointing out the fact that like and he calls him Weapon X and says that like don't you understand like you're no different in this kind of situation. Your blood is special, and then Wolverine says, "Don't go bringing up that shit about me being a killer before I was in a lab experiment and all this. Like we don't need to go down the past." But also he's kind of touching more on like he needs to understand what the tie is to the vampires and like why they're making their moves.
Yeah, and Omega Red's just like, "Maybe I could thrive here." And while this is happening, we're still getting cut intercuts with Wolford Brimley getting eaten.
Yeah, they're chowing down on him good because the other vampires are coming back as well.
Yeah, all of them kind of wake up. We get a bunch of them, and they just eat them like a buffet. Um, and pretty much we learn what else is who's this Julian that he brings
uh
up?
Omega Red tells him this like fable about Saint Julian, where like long story
Yeah,
short, essentially it's just like a guy who was foretold to be the demise of his parents. Like he was going to die, that his parents were going to die by his hand. So the guy did everything possible to avoid that from happening, and like moved his parents far away from him. But one night his parents came back while he was gone, and they slept in his bed, and he came home thinking that it was a man sleeping in his bed with his wife, and immediately plunged a sword into his father's chest. And so the prophecy was fulfilled. And he was using that as a weird way to tell Wolverine that, like, no matter what, like, even if you try as hard as you can not to murder people, you're still going to end up killing them in the end. That's kind of what he was digging at.
gotcha.
Because that's what they were referencing with the old Weapon X days, where it's like, he says that we were killers before that, and like we can't use that as an excuse, especially Omega Red. Like he says, it wasn't like mad scientists that turned us into this. This is what we are in many ways, and Omega Red plays off of that by using the weird like metaphor or analogy, or not analogy, of story, fable, if you will.
Yeah, Fable.
And the dude just gets eaten during this whole story, which is the best part too.
Yeah, you're just getting these like cuts of this Wolford Brimley looking motherfucker just getting definitely getting munched on.
Yeah, they grub down and bounce.
Yeah. And we cut to Saint Julian after that. Um and we see Wolverine in a church with the lady, and they kind of banter about the flower. Is it the flower, right?
He
And he's
brings
just
one of
like,
the flowers from earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like, how much? I was like, the what's your name? Pretty much the price of your name.
Yeah,
And
I already got a flower girl, but how much for the price of your name on this one?
yeah, and mm, what is her name though?
Luis.
I lost it. Luis. It's just Luis. Okay,
Yeah,
it was just Luis. Okay, making
yeah.
sure. They kind of went with that, and
Yeah, she announced it right under that like subterfuge of Wolverine in front of the church.
it wasn't like
Yes,
I
they
am this person. It's just like Luis.
Luis, you followed me this
So,
far. I'm impressed.
yeah, yeah, it threw me out. Okay,
Now
so
just a little further. That's what she said. Over
but
here into the daylight.
yeah, but she's from an ancient order, right? Called the Night Guard.
Yes.
And essentially they just get down on fighting vampires. And she's like, "Let me show you something. This is a this is a place of God, but let me show you my place of death." And he just opens up the cabinet, and there's all these swords everywhere.
A bunch of different swords, like scimitars, rapiers, all different. It looks like a claymore, samurai sword in there as well. Oh, hatchets,
Right?
bunch of crossbows, very blade like, just like this is for fighting. What is that? A hammer or chainsaw? It's chainsaw. A chainsaw on the
Chainsaw.
side. I see.
Chainsaw.
Word. Ah, very dumb.
Nice.
And then the classic bow. She has like an old school like bow and arrow.
Sure.
In the corner there. That's cool. But Wolverine is just like, that's a waste of time. I got these. This is good enough.
Yeah.
I'm all set. She's like, take whatever you want. And he's like, I'm packed.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I got these things. And she mentions that she suspects kind of Krakoa is like disrupting kind of power, humankind, and that vampires are kind of using this as an opportunity.
Yeah, the shift in the paradigm created a power vacuum that allowed the vampires to move up and take advantage of the weakened state of the humans,
Mhm.
and thus they're able to kind of try to take that moment to step up and become more of a bigger player in the greater global, I guess you could say, power struggle.
Mhm.
Because now that the humans are weakened, it's a more ample time for them to strike, and using the focus of the mutants as like a kind of a cloak to make that strike happen. And she's kind of putting like that as the reality to Wolverine, was like, this is really all that's happening here, is like, you guys fucked up like the chessboard, and now like the game has changed, and now we have to step up and deal with it. But it's just her. Like I wonder if her order is just like her. She's like the last one, or if they're like a part. Like if it's like, like Helsing, like Iscariot was like a part of the Catholic Church that was like a faction that fought vampires.
Mhm.
Like I wonder if that's what this is gonna kind of open up to, because they're definitely building like a greater story or background story with like the vampires right here with her and the plot that they're fleshing out.
Yeah. Um, and they kind of go through these catacombs, and she mentions you better learn how to use this, or you're gonna end up like people down here. And as they're walking, how did she? He asks how did Julian end up being a saint, given that he murdered his own parents, right? Because they were telling that story.
Yeah.
And she's just like, nah, man, let's be quiet.
They shut up, they're gonna hear us.
Keep it down. And who is it? Is it Wolverine, or is it this girl Louise that kind of stumbles and causes them to fall?
It looks like they step on a false floor plate, and that like
Yeah,
it's like
just
kind of an
sets up a
Indiana
trap.
Jones moment, and just like
Yeah,
falls in. Wolverine looks like he's leading the fall down, so I think it was him, and it looks like he's taking a step in that panel right above it. So I think that I do really feel like it was him who did it. And he says, "Grab hold of me." What's
yeah,
the point of trust me?
yeah,
He's like, "I'll tank this shit." Ah, spikes.
yeah. Oh, you gotta love the tank.
How did that not go through her though?
Yeah, you would think that would still go through her. That went through him. That
Chest.
went straight through him.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't it went through his chest, like into her back? Like, I don't. Maybe last moment he pushed her off, like into a safe spot. It's a weird
Yeah.
transition because he's like right behind her, and then all of a sudden he's just crunch, spike through the chest. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. And then all the vampires are like, oh hell no, you guys fell into like our secret chamber. We're having a rave down here, or something.
Um. So as Wolverine's getting penetrated, some people are running. They start coming. Luis's gun stops working, and she starts doing some like magic. She tries to summon a holy water grenade.
Yeah, she summons the holy hand grenade.
Yeah, the holy hand grenade of
The holy hand
answer.
grenade. And it just explodes on them, and they're melting. They're melting up good. And
Yeah,
Wolverine's like, "All right, I'm back. Let's do this."
like let's
Even
do
as like
this.
bones are sticking out of him.
Still got some stuff sticking out of him.
It's her.
And then as he gets back to the battle, he's just like, stop, 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 stop. And he's just like, fuck, I just got back though. I wanted to snick some more. And we get this guy, this is like, yo, stop. Speaking French a little bit. And he's just like, let her go. And he's just like, he's just like, what do you want? Right? What do you want? And they
It's
want
like
to, he was just like, we
they're
want
hard
your
for Wolverine's
taste.
blood.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
want it. We want it. We want a taste of that blood.
that's
Uh,
one on Wolverine hard.
yeah, and as that's happening, they kind of like transform into bats. You see this transformation happen, and the swarming begins, and they kind of feast on him.
Yeah.
They just get down on Wolverine, and they're just like, "Damn, you good, bro? You good?"
She's like, you can turn a vampire, and he's like, nah, healing factor, I got it. I'm
So
good.
yeah,
The Brood couldn't take me down. These fucks won't.
yeah. um, and then what happens? Logan
Has a little bit of vampire still left on his claw.
Yes, he has a chunk of vampire on it. He's just like one down, thousands to go.
He's so proud too. Look
Yeah.
at that fucking grin, like it's
Yeah,
massive.
he's so happy.
Yeah. Oh man, I like that the way they draw his chin and face there. It kind of reminds me of like Dark Knight with old school Batman or like old Batman.
A little
Like he's
bit.
got that jawline and like his face mask always kind of had that Batman feel too. It's just right there, that smile that reminded me of
Yeah.
Batman when he was about to fuck someone up.
Mhm. And we see this person on this throne, um, and this person is well. Before that happens, we see that it cuts to Omega Red and Magneto, and who's the other person too? Right there.
In the
It's
I think
the
that's
second panel. So the
either
first,
it's
yeah, go ahead.
either I don't think it's Dr. Reyes because she had more of like kind of like a jumpsuit kind of thing going. I think that's Sage. Looks like Sage. Looks
Okay,
like her hair. I think she has that kind of ponytail. I might be wrong, but it does look like Sage.
and we get the. I don't get the art like choices in these panels right here. I mean, I get the dialogue that's happening right now, where it's just all you mutants have united. You mutants have united, but so have the vampires, and it's just we're getting a long diatribe, and we find out it's from. He's just all like, you have Charles Xavier, and they have dot dot dot. Is it Danny?
Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad.
Dracula, aka Dracula.
Yes, the man himself. But before we find out this reveal of Vlad, we get these cuts of Magneto with Mega Red. We
They're
get these
letting him
cuts of
out.
who's this person with the eyes right here? Is
That's
this just
Dracula. They're cutting
it
to
is
reveal
Dracula?
Dracula's face. Like he just hasn't opened his eyes yet. Yeah, that's why it's all purple.
Weird
Super
the weird
purple.
transition. But
Yeah.
I see it now. I see it now with the throne.
And
Okay.
then they're showing that Omega Red is being released.
Yeah.
He is now being let in, let to go free between Krakoa and the world.
Yeah. But yes, we find out Dracula. So Dracula is running the show, um, and uh, as Omega Red goes through the portal, he comes out and he's met with um, the man
Dracula himself.
Dracula himself in his suit and his long hair and his glasses.
His
Um,
top hat.
yeah. And we find out that Omega Red is scheming. Dun dun dun. Omega. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that this wasn't him all along? It was a facade the whole
What?
time.
Omega Red betrayed everyone? Next thing you're gonna tell me, Kyle, that Mystique's willing to betray the mutant fucking island of Krakoa and the Quiet Council. Like, what are you telling me?
That'll never happen. Are you kidding me?
No,
Shaw.
because these people don't betray people over and over and over
Over.
again.
It's ridiculous.
Just like a dog's gonna bark, cat's gonna meow, and a fish gonna swim. Omega Red's gonna fuck you over. Like hardcore. Like it almost seems like he's bitter for being Wolverine's number two foil. Like he almost tries to screw over Wolverine even more and even worse because
Mhm.
he's so jealous that everyone likes Sabretooth more. But it's just what do you do? Sabretooth's more of a badass. You're cool, Omega Red.
Yes.
You literally need like the thing they give him right here is like his car is like carbanium. Like that's the
Yeah.
carbonanium is like the synthesizer is essentially his addiction. Like that's like something he needs to maintain his existence. Like he has this chemical compound that he has to keep taking or else he falls apart and essentially dies. Like it pains him not to have it, and he's getting played off of that. So it's like, you know, Sabretooth doesn't have those kind of ins and outs. Like you either Sabretooth has something to get from you, or he's not doing shit for you, and you can't hold shit over his head. You kill his friends, he don't even care. He'll be killing for you. They tried to do that where like use his teammates and like hold them hostage, and he just kills them and says, "All right, you got nothing now."
Yeah.
Sabretooth. Oh, man.
But
He's the
yeah.
inside man. That's the big chess piece right here that's revealed, is that freaking Dracula is using Omega Red as the inside plant in Krakoa, inside the mutant lines, behind enemy lines to try to keep tabs on things and like kind of play his move from inside the Krakoan nation.
Yes. So it's gonna be interesting to see this kind of play out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because the synthesizer's booby trapped. He says straight up here that
yeah.
it's got a bomb in it and that
Oh
he'll blow
yeah.
it up if he doesn't do what he says. Because that synthesizer will work forever, but that's only if he does what Dracula says.
Yeah. So sucks to be you.
Yeah.
But that's the game. That's the game. If you want that sweet, sweet carbonadium.
Join them, but obey me.
Yeah, and he says, join them, but obey me. Interesting line, but that is where we leave it. No, that is not where we leave it.
It's like about that
We,
pollen.
we talk about that pollen. We get a little bit of pollen info on this.
Falling on that pollen. It's a hot new
And
street.
yeah, I love how that's the first line. It's just like pollen's become an epidemic level street drug in a short space of time. So shit hit the
If
fan.
parents told why they should be afraid their children are taking it, Kyle.
Yeah. They mentioned the flower cartel. Um, they mentioned Jeff Bannister's.
CIA agent, dude.
Mr. CIA agent.
CIA agent guy.
CIA agent guy.
That's a science lady, you know.
We got Dr. Science Lady, CIA agent guy.
Yeah. We're making a buddy cop movie right here.
It's happening. It's happening. Hickman, help us out.
Oh, yes. Back to back on their cover. They're like, we don't even know why we were crossing over. Our plot lines aren't even remotely near each other. Good times.
Yeah. And essentially, this is just going over how pollen's just spreading. It's becoming an epidemic. Everyone doesn't know how to handle it. FBI, FBN, DEA, FDA, State Department, all of them are like, just like, what the fuck's going on? Chaos is happening because a new kind of drug cartel has kind of opened up, more or less.
Yeah,
right?
the whole factions and well, think about it. CIA, DEA, and FBI put operatives deep cover in a lot of different factions, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different countries, and all of that was built over time. But overnight, you know, Krakoa came to be a nation and changed the pharmaceutical industry, the narcotics industry, the hustle, the gangs, all that stuff. Everything changed. So now all these organizations, all these acronym government bodies are scrambling as fast as they can to try to play catch up. And this dossier kind of breaks it down a little bit, giving us a little bit of backstory on Bannister as well.
Yeah. And we find out that the flower cartel is going to be meeting in Alaska, deep country, Alaska.
The deep north.
What is it? What does deep country mean? Like, just like we don't even have a state. This isn't even a part of a state. It's just.
I think it's like you know those terrible National Geographic shows where they just like go film people who live out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska and like struggle every day to just survive.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. I think is what it is.
Uh,
The dude be out there fishing with a shoestring, and he's like, "I either catch this fish or I die. This is my life. I chose this."
yeah.
All right, man. You just go into town and get like food stamps, man. Chill out. It's 2020. You don't have to rough it. Hey, isn't Alaska that place with the last two functioning Blockbuster videos?
Yes.
No, it's Oregon. They closed those. They closed those Alaska
They
ones
closed
last
the
year.
Alaska ones.
Yeah, the last
too?
one's Oregon. Yeah, so even Alaska's like Blockbuster Video. That shit is outdated. We don't have central heating, but fuck these blockbusters. Good times. So
Ridiculous.
that's where they're gonna do their Krakoan crazy flower cartel drug deal meet in the next Wolverine issue.
Yes. But that does it for this issue of Wolverine, part 2, and just issue number 1 in general. What did you think of part 2, Danny?
I liked part 2 a lot better because of the vampire reveal. And
Yeah.
the reason I like the vampire reveal is I don't know if you remember an old series written by Frank Terry back 2006 when I started getting back into X-Men again. My return since my childhood. And he did a little mini series called Dracula versus Apocalypse. And
I remember that. Yeah. I
yeah,
do remember that.
I'm pretty excited to see if this ties into that in any way, shape, or form. I want to see Apocalypse and Dracula throw down again. That was a dope mini series. It was like a little 4-part mini issue series, and like I really hope they rest on that and that has some sort of play here. That's why I'm super excited. Everything else, it's kind of like I said, they retreaded a lot of the pollen stuff again, and it's
Yeah.
like that was already beat to death in the first part. So bringing it back in the second part was almost egregious. It was just like, oh come on, man. Like you could have just this all could have been explained in one section of part 1 and we could have just built on it. Like you don't need to reiterate it. I get where you're going with this and like what these organizations are and what they're doing. But yeah, the vampire stuff was a nice little step away and I like what they're revealing there with that and where that story's going. But yeah, that was really my favorite walk away point from part 2 was just the reveal of Dracula and the vampires and the turn on Omega Red being the little spy behind Krakoan lines.
Yeah, that's
Importance.
interesting. I want to see what him and Dracula are plotting.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
What's your takeaway though, as like the big standout moment?
My big standout moment would probably be um, tapping Wolverine, drinking his blood.
Yeah,
That was
that's
just
true.
this is
That's
a
easy to
awesome
remember. You're
movie.
right. Like
This is
walking away from this issue, that will stick with you. That's true.
a,
You won't forget
uh,
that. It's like remember those vampires trying to fucking like drink Wolverine like by putting him on tap.
right.
That shit was crazy. Or not trying to drink Wolverine. They did actually drink
They did
Wolverine.
it. They
One
did it.
glass.
One guy did before
Yeah,
he
then he
got
cut his head
sliced.
off.
Yeah.
He said, "Fuck
Uh,
that! You don't drink me."
yeah. Uh,
Motherfucker.
seeing Omega Red is pretty cool. It's glad to see him back in the fray.
It's not a Jim Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. That moment with Wolverine doing the schnick to, like I said, the vertical like claws.
Yeah.
That and then that's against Omega Red. Like that was one of his iconic moves that Jim Lee like would draw him, or have him be set in like when doing it with like Dave Cockrum and stuff, and they would have him like just like, oh, Omega Red, fuck this dude, I'm gonna activate my claws right in front of my face, and I'm gonna put him in front like my dukes are up. Like I like that. That's a very iconic
Uh-huh.
Wolverine imagery.
Yeah. Um. Anything that you didn't enjoy, didn't stand out, thought was weird. I thought the art was pretty on point. Bogdanovic
The
did a good
weird
job.
subterfuge choices were kind of funny, but I almost feel
Those
like
are pretty
that's now
clever.
just like that's almost like a fucking mascot of
That's a
this like Dawn
trope,
of X
yeah.
series. Like they're just like we really like to play on the subterfuge, of, like the shadowing people's faces and all this like foreshadowing in their like tone and momentum. But yeah, no, there wasn't anything that rubbed me the wrong way, except for maybe them like still lagging on like some of the pollen plot.
Yeah, it's
But
like
the
you gotta
vampire
get the
stuff was the
pollen.
best
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, I dug the vampire stuff. It's
That
cool.
saved this part 2 because the part 2 was just the following of what part 1 was and still hamming on that, then that would have just really killed it. I mean, they introduced this new character, the Louise, the French like vampire fighter like lineage. What was it? What was the order called again that she was introduced in? Like the guard, the night guard or something like that.
Night guard sounds right. Let me look back
Night guard. We're the Night's Watch, and we've been watching the night
to
for
the
many,
night
many
torch.
years. But yeah, I liked her. Like she was the kind of like surprise and refreshing character introduction
Night
that
Guard.
Night Guard, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that. Didn't even fucking remember. Just was like Night Guard sounds about right. The Dark Guard would have worked too. But yeah. Like her introduction was really cool. I like that. She's the new current breakout character. I like her little like kind of blade field that she has with her UV lights and like her
Very,
over the
very
so
blade. Yeah. Getting
yeah, she's
blade.
like, look, I got a wall of blades. Like I got 90 swords. It's just like, lady, you really only need one. You know that in that one scene when she's showing all the swords, the what is it? The chandelier in the ceiling is actually made of swords. I'm just now noticing this. Like go back to that page and look at the chandelier in the ceiling. It's lined with swords. Same swords. Like I think they're
Oh,
decorative.
yeah.
I don't really even think those swords work. I just think that's a decorative way to
That's
line them.
definitely, yeah. That's dangerous if it falls, though.
It's
That could
impractical.
do some damage.
Maybe she has it set up as a trap where she's like someone's trying to rob her and it
Yeah,
falls loose. Yeah,
could be.
but yeah, we'll see what Dracula does and like you know they had a pretty big story arc where Wolverine and Storm and a bunch of other people became vampires. I know there's an alternate world. What was it? Nation X or Mutant Nation? You know where Havoc is like the leader of X-Men and Storm is a vampire and Beast is like a monster. Do you vaguely
Vaguely.
remember that?
No, no. I said vaguely, but no, not really. I don't remember.
I'll have to find the name of it, but I think it was called like Mutant Nation or something like that. But I just know that like the vampire storyline where Storm got turned into a vampire in that timeline, it didn't get
Yeah.
resolved. So she just stayed as a vampire, but she's also an X-Men. Oh, and then Jubilee, when she got depowered, they tried to like give her. They're like, we want to make Jubilee cool again, and it's like the real poppy, bright colors in the '90s, like radical in your face style doesn't work now in 2000s. So you know what's good now? Emo. We're gonna make Jubilee a vampire. Jubilee's cool again, kids. She's a vampire. Like her. She doesn't have her powers, but she's a vampire. That's real hot right now.
Doing
Twilight.
doing stuff with Blade,
Yeah.
doing all the Blade stuff.
Yeah, and she started partnering with Blade after he tried to
Yeah,
kill her a few times.
yeah.
Can't be.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, so the vampire intertwining with X-Men is actually kind of a funny thing that is very common. Like at this point, it's kind of it's in the wheelhouse of normality of X-Men. I'm not like, whoa, vampires fighting X-Men. That's so like original. I'm more like, oh, awesome. Like they're going to use the vampire concept again, but like, is it now that they're using Dracula? Like, is it going to play off of the old Apocalypse story, or is they're just going to move forward like that didn't happen? Like, what's going to happen here? I'm really excited, to see where this goes.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
more so than when I came into it. Before I was like, all right, Wolverine issue 1. I'm interested to see what they do. Now after being done with it, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I want issue 2 now. Like, tell me more about Dracula. Has he fought Apocalypse yet? Like, what's happening?
this is about Apocalypse. We're gonna be
Page 1. I want that fight to be happening. Just for fun. No exposition, no explanation.
just a punch
Now
and
they're like
kick.
fucking stabbing each other in the chest to see who died first. Uh,
Hopefully your dreams come true. But for now, that'll do it for Wolverine issue number 1, first book of Dawn of X, phase 2. Do you want to go through the list of phase 2 books?
yeah, because there's interesting things to note here. So I think touching on them actually is probably worth it at this point, considering
Yeah.
this whole new phase, anyways.
So Marvel gives us the next 2 weeks of next 4 weeks, next month of my books.
Yeah, the next
Yeah.
cycle is
So so today we got February 19th. Today we got Wolverine issue number 1 and Marauders issue number 8. February 26th we're gonna get X-Men number 7, X-Force number 8. Oh, as well as on February 26th, we're also going to get a new book, Giant Size X-Men, Jean Grey and Emma Frost, issue number 1. That's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on, March 4th, we get Excalibur issue number 8, Marauders issue number 9. March 11th, we get Cable number 1. Another new book, Cable, popping out. Got to keep them going. Got to keep it going, man.
The breakout star from Fallen Angels, the first series to get canceled of the Dawn of X series, Cable. Strap in, boys and girls. He's going to talk about his guns for the whole issue.
The
And
whole
that's
issue.
probably it.
And
It's
then
as one-dimensional as they come.
yeah. Also on March 11th, X-Men issue number 8. And moving on to March 18th, Excalibur issue number 9, followed by another new book, Giant Size X-Men Magneto issue number 1. Now, what do you think of this lineup moving forward?
Well, I'm concerned that the Magneto one isn't called issue number 2 of Giant Size, which means that we're going to have a whole Magneto miniseries, which I like Magneto, and I like Emma Frost and Jean Grey, but do I feel that they need to do like 6, 7, 8 issues of just their story? Like, how many issues could you have of Jean Grey and Emma Frost taking shots at each other between the lines? Like, is that they're gonna play that story, that like kind of dynamic of their relationship for like a whole series arc? Like, that's a bit
Maybe.
much. Like, I mean, if these are meant to be single one-shot issues and that's why they're doing it, then I'm fine with that. But if we're like a month away from now and they're like, coming out next week is, Jean Grey and Emma Frost issue number 5, I'm like, oh, I'm just, what is happening? This is messy. I want to do the single issue Wolverine going on, but I don't want to just do 9 versions of that. They don't need a single issue for every X-Men character. There's
Or
too
maybe,
many.
or maybe that's exactly what this is. Giant Size X-Men is literally every single character gets their own issue, and it's just everyone has an issue number 1. It doesn't go past issue number 1.
I'm fine with that. That works. But if it's like they get issue 2s, 3s, and 4s, I'm like, okay, you've opened the floodgates for problem. This is why the X-Men comics always fail at some point, because it just becomes a fucking sea of just issue 12 of like blob. Like, ah, no.
Yeah.
Though you saw that I called that, posted it, they're coming out. They're working on a Juggernaut solo series. I think it was like 2 recordings ago. I said they
Yeah.
need to do a
Yep.
Juggernaut
Yep.
solo series, and they are doing it. And
Called it.
I think it's Fabian Nicieza.
Really?
I think I might be wrong. I remember reading something where he was going to be involved, but that would be cool. I'd be down for that either way. But that's fine because it's Juggernaut, and it's going to be a fucking one like arc, like a few Juggernaut issues, and it's done. They're not
That's
going to
good.
be like issue 10 of Juggernaut. Like I can't
No.
imagine do that. That
Just
would
do
be
6 issues. 6 issues is
at
good.
most, and even then with some like just give them one.
Yeah, most just need the one shot, a nice one shot. I'll give you
We had the Cable one, and I'm like, that's fuck.
do one shot. I'll give you 42 pages even.
Yeah, one big, make it like an annual style freaking romp of like big, grandiose battles and drawn out expositions. I'm fine with that. But at least when I read it and I digest it, I'm done. I can move on. My life is over. I don't have to keep coming back and reading like 9 issues of Cable to see where the plot's going and still realize it's the same dumb like time travel MacGuffin over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Now, if it's a Cable and Deadpool issue 1, then maybe I'd be like, oh.
Oh yeah.
Get the band back together, but no, I don't. Cable by himself never works. It's never worked. It didn't work in the 90s and wouldn't work now. They need to understand that.
No, I don't know what's going on there.
They had to make him carry around a baby in like 2010 to make it relevant. Like he had to time travel while carrying a child and fighting battles, like a baby in one hand and a gun in the other.
Yeah.
That worked.
Yeah.
But by himself, it's no bueno.
We'll see. I have my doubts, but that'll do it for us this week, folks. Be sure to like, subscribe, favorite, heart, leave us a eggplant emoji.
Sure.
all of the things. All of the things. But that'll do it for us. My name is Kyle. I'm with Danny. Remember, the robots are going to kill you. So, read some X-Men.
Do some pollen.
Do some pollen. Get down on that pollen, man. What are you waiting for?
Life is short.
It's spreading fast.
Burn it
man.
out.
Yeah. Run to the ground, bitches.
Burn it to the ground, bitches. There you go.